Hey everyone, welcome. And joining me today is Artemis Evangelidi. And in this episode, we're going to explore the idea that in order to change a system, we must first start with ourselves. We'll talk about the role of mindfulness in the legal profession, what it means to be a conscious lawyer, and why it's so important to regulate our emotional systems. Okay, so welcome, Artemis. It's so nice to have you here.
Hi, Courtney. It's amazing to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation.
I am so honored to have you here all the way from Australia. So I know it's very early there, and I'm so grateful to have you join us today. So I'd like to begin by talking a bit about your journey into conscious leadership. I know
hmm
from earlier discussions that we had before we began recording, and from following your work on LinkedIn, that mindfulness has been such a core part of who you are. And that's been even from a very young age. So, can you share with us how mindfulness has shaped your approach to leadership and well being in the legal profession?
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting. It's so embedded in who I am and how I practice and what I do that, I actually had to think about this question a little bit. Um, it's I, I think the most important thing and the most valuable thing that I've been able to take away from this experience of embedding mindfulness into everything that I do is the ability to just observe,
Mm,
right? Like that opportunity to just sit back and observe and not get swept up in whatever chaos is brewing around.
yeah.
Um, and that can be in your family life, in your workplace, in your community or in your society, whatever's happening. But the ability to just sit back and observe, I believe, is such a huge superpower because not only can you see all the different positions and vantage points, you don't you don't allow your ego to kind of step into the foray and say, actually, this is my opinion, my viewpoint, this I'm right, you're wrong, this is the way it has to be. This is,
Yeah.
it opens the platform for communication and collaboration
Mm,
and a positive discourse around what's going on. Everyone has is coming at things from their own vantage points and their own perspectives. That opportunity to be able to tap into that
mm,
and really hold space for what everyone is experiencing and feeling is a superpower. So, as an attorney, as a lawyer, to be able to do that for your clients, I mean that defined my practice for 23 years that I was in active practice. That defined how I did what I did. To be able to just observe and listen and consciously listen, but also observe body language and nonverbal cues. Um, really supports your practice and supports you as a lawyer, no matter what field you're practicing in. Now I was in corporate commercial law, and yet, I'd sit there and say, right, this person is actually suffering. Like there's a lot of pain here. There's a lot of upheaval. There's a lot of um, uncertainty. How can I help them through that? How can I support them to navigate that? And that was just it's a superpower, really. Yeah.
I often say that. I say that mindfulness, it's innate, but it's something that when we really allow ourselves to feel into just how super it is, it really does feel so empowering. So I love the way that you refer to it as a superpower. And I also really appreciate you acknowledging that no matter how chaotic things can be. I mean, whether it's in a relationship, our family, our jobs, the world collectively, that we can step out of reactivity, that we can choose to observe. We can,
Yeah.
when we create that space and we can take in just how chaotic things are, well, then we can choose to lead with more consciousness. And it makes all the difference in the work that we can do for our clients and on a global scale, the change that we can make in the world as we know it, which
Yeah.
which right now it feels like just the chaos of the political end of things so much to be able to stand back and observe
Yeah.
without having to just feed in and reactively or instinctively say or do something, that
Yeah.
is so empowering. So
Mm.
how do you see the ability to step out of reactivity to observe? How do you see that affecting the work that lawyers do and
Mhm.
the outcomes that they can achieve for their clients?
Yeah. I think I'll start with the outcomes that they can achieve for themselves.
Mm,
Being a lawyer is an absolutely right up there in terms of stressful professions.
yeah.
The stress and the pressures are innate, and we're never taught at law school how to handle emotions when
Mm,
you're dealing with challenging situations. We're never taught about vicarious trauma. We're never taught about, the compassion fatigue that comes with supporting people through really difficult things.
yeah.
We never talk about the. I mean, I know clients who and clients of mine now, but lawyers, as clients, coaching clients of mine
Yeah.
now, but lawyers who are suffering from PTSD,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
Because of the nature of the work that they've been exposed to. This is serious stuff. So I start with that. If we start with the premise of be the change you want to see in the world, you have to be that change, right? So I take that further to the peace within you is the peace that you will be able to create around you. So we want to create an environment where we are well taken care of, we're okay, we're regulated, we understand what's happening within our bodies, we understand our emotions and what we're feeling and how our feelings are impacting we do our behaviors and the action that we take. And then once we have that kind of in a good place, then we can bring that out into what we do in our jobs.
Mm,
So the ability to really understand compassion, so self-compassion, compassion for others,
yeah.
and to bring this to our own lives is what supports us to do our jobs. It doesn't matter where you're practicing as an attorney, whether you're in, legal aid or community legal centers, or you're doing family law or corporate law, or it doesn't matter. The context is the same. You are a problem solver.
Yeah.
You are inadvertently a healer
Yeah.
of various conditions. So to be able to do that work effectively, you've got to be okay, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that applies to many professions, of course, but I can only speak for the law in terms of my own experience.
Yeah. Well, there's a saying, you can't pour from an empty cup. And if we're depleted, if we're emotionally drained, if we're not showing up for ourselves, we can't show up for others. And I love that you're speaking about this awareness piece, that in order for us to do a good job, we need to be aware of our emotions, but also, in addition to being aware, allowing. And I think so often, as a litigator, where I was conditioned to, I often refer to us being pit bulls in the courtroom. You can't
Mm,
show your emotional side. You can't, if you show you're afraid, then you may appear as incompetent or incapable of handling hard work. And our cases do involve hard issues and difficult emotions. They're very charged. But the awareness piece, and then can we allow what's here without stuffing it away? Because otherwise it just sort of festers and grows and grows. That self-compassion piece, to really allow space for the difficult
mm,
emotions and feelings. So that in of itself can not only be healing from like the trauma we take on from our clients and the cases and the issues that come up, but it can be empowering when we give that a voice and we hold space with a light touch of mindfulness. I think that empowers us so that when
yeah.
we get into the courtroom or when we're dealing with difficult clients or working on really challenging issues, we sense into that resilience, we sense into that empowerment that we have, because as attorneys we have a lot of power. We can make
Yeah,
huge changes in really positive
absolutely.
ways. But if we're not in a good place emotionally, physically, mentally, then we can't do that good work. So that the awareness piece, touching into what is here, and recognizing that we are human beings, that we feel, and how can we support ourselves to be in a profession that is is really challenging. Speaking of wellness, I'm excited because we're both part of Mindfulness and Law Society. You're on the board. I'm not on the board.
Yes.
So you
Yeah.
play an even bigger role, but I know Mindfulness and Law Society is joining forces with the Institute for Wellbeing, and being that the wellness, well, if you say this 12 times, I'm going to get so tongue-tied, but Wellbeing Week in Law is coming up later in May. And also May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And I think that so much is at stake for lawyers who are really grappling with difficult issues and having to work on complex cases. I'm excited about the ways in which we can help others through our respective work to promote deeper wellness, both in mind and body. So I'm interested in, you touched upon this, like the emotional end and emotional regulation. Are there any particular practices, resources, or tools that you can share with our audience, or maybe something that you find yourself just to sort of find more ease and kind of sift through what can feel really chaotic at times?
Yeah, absolutely. So many things that we can do, really. And I often say, just find the one that resonates the most for you.
Yeah.
So, from a simple experience of just stopping and taking 3 conscious breaths,
Mm.
just to help activate the vagus nerve and get our nervous system back into check,
Yeah.
all the way through to, developing a mindfulness or meditative practice.
Yeah.
I've been meditating since I was around 15.
Hmm.
And that was the first time that meditation was introduced to me. That's a long time because I'm nearly 47. So,
Not too long, but
but
I mean, not too like. I mean, it's a long time to have a practice,
yeah,
but
but not the age. I'll take it. I'll take
yes,
it. Yeah.
yes, yes, yes.
But so that for me was the first kind of foray into a spaciousness, a timelessness, a taste of the now.
Yeah.
And in the now, everything is okay. Everything is as it should be.
Mm.
Because if it wasn't, you'd be taking action for something else.
Yeah.
So say, if there are always pockets of um I guess discontent or even chaotic situations. And we're in a VUCA world, and we've been in a VUCA world for a very long time. It's volatile, it's uncertain, it's complex, and it's ambiguous. And
Mhm.
it's becoming more and more so. Recognizing that that's the environment that we're in allows us to say, okay, I often say you can't throw darts at things from the outside and hope that they stick.
Mhm.
To
Mhm.
be able to affect any change, whether it's in your small world or in the greater scheme of things. It could be you're working for an NGO and you want to bring about, support and change for a specific group in the community, or you're a politician and you're entering politics and you want to do things differently. Whatever that may be, hold space for yourself and understand that in order for a system to change, or for any type of system to change, the system has to become aware of itself.
Mm.
It has. This is stuff from Otto Scharmer and MIT, at the Presencing Institute, and so much research has been done there. Now, just that phrase, for a system to change, it has to become aware of itself. Well, we're a system too.
Yeah.
We're an individual system. So for us to change, we have to become aware of ourselves. So anything that allows you to deepen that awareness, to deepen that presence, it could be reading books, it could be listening to podcasts like this one, it could be going to a day retreat, or I mean, I run retreats, right? I run retreats because it allows people to just come and take 3, 5, 7 days out of their year where they can enter a space of presence,
Mhm.
enter a space of mindfulness, and deepen that experience. And some people who come have never done anything before, but there's a calling,
Yeah.
and as Eckhart Tolle says, the light of presence is getting stronger within them, and they recognize that there is something that they need. So you and I both know the saying, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I almost say, let's call out to the universe and say, I'm ready. I'm ready for a different way of living, a different way of experiencing things, a different way of practicing law, a different way of practicing whatever field I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm ready to change that narrative and move away from this self-induced suffering that comes when we live within the mind. The mind is our greatest tool, but it's also our greatest enemy. if we allow the mind to run rampant, if we sit in rumination or, anxiety about what's coming, we're missing out on the most important thing, which is the present moment, which is where everything is experienced.
Yeah.
And it's anything that can bring you into presence. So, I said go for a walk.
Yeah.
Don't don't put your ear pods in, your air, whatever they're called. Go
Like,
for a walk.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hear the sounds.
Like, and just listen. What do you hear? Right? And it could be the bustling of a city. It could be, sometimes when I'm in the office in the city, I'll go for a walk around the block. And we're in the city, right? Like Melbourne's a big city where almost 6 million people. It's bustling. But there are sounds there, and then there are other sounds. You'll hear the birds somewhere. There's trees, there's the wind, there's, people's conversations, there's smells in the air. There are all these beautiful sensations that you can tap into. I mean, one simple 10-minute walk can bring you into an experience of the now when
Hmm.
you don't allow distractions to take you from it. So I invite, all our listeners, if you haven't had the opportunity to kind of tap into this,
Yeah.
simple things like, that's a very easy thing to do. And we all walk at some point during the day.
Yeah.
So use that as an experience.
Well, that reminds me of there's a meditation where we engage all our senses because like you're saying, our minds are so powerful and we can use our minds in miraculous ways, but they can also be our worst enemy. And unlike the body that's always in the here and now, the mind can time travel. So we find ourselves worrying about the what ifs or what's to come in the future or beating ourselves up from the past. And our thoughts tell us all sorts of things. More times than not, I think they're not rosy. They go to these dark places. But when we can engage the senses, and it can be like I love to open to sounds and feel the breeze and notice what I'm seeing on a walk. But even when we're just sitting here, like using our senses to notice what's here, to drop into the here and now, as opposed to be taken on a ride by our thoughts, that can be incredibly anchoring and help ground ourselves. I also wanted to touch upon the awareness within the system. It begins with the awareness inside ourselves or the individual. And what I think becomes the hurdle for individuals taking the time to become aware and therefore affecting the system's ability to deepen its awareness is the fact that attorneys, busy professionals think that we have to spend so much time in practicing mindfulness. And I like to point out to attorneys or other high performing professionals that small glimpses many times can really add up so that
Yeah.
just by us taking individually taking a moment or 2 moments or 3 moments, the more and more we drop in, the more we can notice if we're feeling chaos in the body, the mind, or we're a bit reactive, and we make a change. It is a ripple effect so that it really does make a collective a difference, a transformation in the system and the world. So don't discount, for those who are listening, don't discount those small little practices, even if it's 3 conscious breaths. So I
Yeah.
love that you're giving that a voice. I wanted to get back to briefly to Mills, Mindfulness and Law Society, because I didn't know if there's
Mhm.
anything that you want to share with people who are listening or watching and ways in which they can support themselves, whether it's in with mindfulness, with Mental Health Awareness Month and Wellbeing Week in Law, or anything that you sort of have in the works on behalf of
Mm.
Mills.
Yeah, absolutely. So, join Mills. It's a fantastic community. We have weekly sits. We have chapters around the world and around America, particularly in different states. Excuse me, that do and run so many different events. So if you are located in the US, then there are so many events happening across your country, and you can also find all that on our webpage. But we have the opportunity for people who join to join various um, chapters and get involved in how we move this forward through our respective locations. We have our upcoming conference and retreat, which is happening in San Francisco in July, which is amazing. And I'll be actually flying up for that because it's going to be such a wonderful opportunity for us all to kind of come together and share an experience and have some embodied practice as well, but also have conversations around what this means for us. So, we're with Mills, we're a collective of some, amazing people from all over the world who are either, teaching law at universities or deans of law schools or practicing attorneys, or, people practicing in mindfulness or ex-lawyers. And it's a beautiful mix of human beings from around the world who are really committed to embodying mindfulness in everything that we do. So really, it's an opportunity to join a community that is aligned with, perhaps what people might be looking for, and to just kind of tap into this experience with us. And having the conversations are just so beautiful, right? Just to be able to see everyone's experience and how they've been able to practice it in their own way.
I have yet to be in person, but I can say even from the virtual meetings that I've had through Mills, that you feel a sense of connection no matter how many miles are
Yeah.
between us, and then you walk away really feeling more nourished, more centered, and like you're not alone in this. So that's invaluable. I and just to get back, I know for the Wellbeing Week in Law. Speaking of mindful walking, I'm going to be leading in the morning. Well, what's the morning here, which will be like the next day for you in Australia. But I'll be leading a small session on mindful walking and how it can help us to regulate our emotions and our bodies, um, and just how it can really allow us to sense into our interconnectedness with all beings.
Mm, mm.
I I did want to, before we end the episode, I did want to touch upon the work that you're doing at the Law Institute of Victoria and
Yeah.
see if you can speak a bit about that and how you're really implementing or supporting conscious lawyering through the Law Institute.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Law Institute in Victoria is peak professional membership body for all lawyers. So my role as head of learning transformation is to effectively kind of take our strategic initiatives and operationalize them through a learning lens. And so that has afforded me the opportunity to really embed conscious leadership practices, mindfulness practices, presence, awareness, all of that through our learning programs, but also really embed them into our, large scale conferences. So we've developed a series of short courses for lawyers that we deliver in-house, myself and our wellbeing manager, our resident psychologist at the Law Institute, who is also a mindfulness practitioner. Um, and she also heads up the Psychologists for Buddhism Association in Australia. But it's an opportunity for, us, as all of us are ex-lawyers, to come into the room and say, we know because we've been there, we experienced everything you're experiencing. Here are some of the strategies and tactics and tools that we used, and that we offer to you to be able to navigate this world. So it's been a fantastic experience, running conscious leadership for lawyers, right? Like I developed this workshop, which I actually run around the world, but running it in person in Melbourne has been phenomenal to get lawyers in the room who just sit there for a whole day and go, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Like there's a whole different way of thinking and being and practicing law. And to run, we run the mindful lawyer and we run empowered client interactions where we talk about how you can bring mindfulness and self-awareness into dealing with very challenging situations or having those difficult conversations that you need to have with your clients, or with opposing counsel or whatever it may be. So it's a beautiful platform. The Institute's been around for 165 years. It's got over 20,000 members. And it's a beautiful opportunity to bring everyone together and build community. And it's given actually people who have been doing this work in silos and in secret, like in secret, to come out of the woodwork and say, oh my gosh, I've been trying to, embed mindfulness into the judiciary or into this firm or whatever I'm doing. And I thought I was doing it alone. I didn't realize that other people were also involved in this practice. So
Yeah.
that's, again, I think if I take that piece of community building, Courtney, like that ability to hold space and say, you know what, it's actually okay. And there's more of us doing it. And let's get together and collaborate. Let's get together and share our knowledge and our resources and our
Yeah.
experience. Um, is such a beautiful thing. And that's what led me also to establish the Center for Conscious Leadership, because that's a collaborative organization. It's an NGO. It's not owned by anyone, but it's owned by everyone, right? And it's an
Yeah.
opportunity for people to just come together in their different fields and their different practice areas and industries, right? So we've got, people from medicine and vets and finance and accounting and politics and, law enforcement, whatever it is, to come together and build community within their own space, and give people that opportunity to tap into what it feels like to live a conscious and mindful life.
I don't think you could put any value on the immense support that is extended to each of the people who feel into that sense of community and that interconnectedness. If just sort of looking ahead, like and hearing all of the amazing work that you're doing that I see you posting on LinkedIn, if you were to project this into the future, say 10 years from now, how do you envision it in the ways that it's going to improve the legal profession?
Um, if I had a magic wand to see, I'd know what steps to take to get it quicker than the 10 years.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
no, I think it's an invitation, right? It's an invitation for people to step outside of what they've normally done if they recognize that it's not working as well as what
yeah,
they'd hoped, and try a different way. So, if we continue to embed this and offer this as it's not just the experience of it as well. Oh, I'm having a really difficult day. I'll step into this process and help calm my nervous system and regulate myself. It's actually about how can you lawyer every day mindfully. So, we lawyers have a very unique brain structure, right? We're adversarial. We like to argue. We like to be right. We like to,
yeah.
find all the points that, validate our experience and what we're thinking. And what if you put that to the side for a moment? And what if you just sat in acceptance and non-resistance and allowed what's coming to you to filter through without judgment, give you a very different perspective from which you can then support or help or, argue your case. So it's about really, we talk about client centricity and co-collaboration. And Professor Michelle DeStefano talks about this from the University of Miami and
Yeah.
Harvard. She talks about this co-collaboration as lawyers and this, moving beyond collaboration and actually co-collaborating with other parties and co-collaborating with your
What's
clients and
that?
your colleagues in counsel. It's about taking it another step
Yeah,
further, right? Like it's a
yeah.
really, it's a wonderful kind of play on words. And she's just trying to bring home that point of, in fact, there's a different way of doing things and it's more productive, it's more efficient, and it's quicker. So my vision for the next 5, 10 years is that this grows and
Mm,
that we get more and more people in this community, whichever community it is, right? Whether it's through the Law Institute or through my coaching work or through the center or through mills, or it doesn't matter. They're all beautiful vehicles for bringing people together to hold space for each other and allow us to co-create the way forward, co-create what an ideal situation, environment, or industry would look like. What does our ideal community look like? How can we be that beacon of light and love and hope and compassion for everyone around us,
mm.
starting with ourselves first? We
Yeah.
have to start with here, right? And then we can extend that out.
Ah, that's beautiful. It's very moving, and I'm just sensing togetherness, which feels really nice, just in what you're saying. And it reminds me of even just a formal practice of letting ourselves just be. The more and more we can allow ourselves to just be here and to
Yeah.
notice what is here, our doing comes out of that being. But we can be in this together, and we can collaborate with one another. It doesn't have to be so much us versus them. So that's really a beautiful way to close out this time together. But before we close out our time together, I do want to let listeners, viewers know if there is a way for them to connect with you, if they are interested in maybe exploring retreat, or they want to learn more about how you can support their teams, their businesses? What is the best way for someone to connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Just email me. So my website is my name.com. So artemisevangelidi.com.
Mhm.
Um, I'm on LinkedIn. You know, my email is there for everyone to reach out. I'm running a retreat in Melbourne, Australia at the end of May. We're running a retreat in Greece in September. There's lots of beautiful practices and things that we're doing, and opportunities for us to connect. So please just reach out on LinkedIn or visit the website and shoot me an email. I'm more than happy to have a chat. And the Center for Conscious Leadership is centerconsciousleadership.com as well. And
And
that's got
I'll make sure
got
to
a
share.
lot of opportunity for you to come together and join your industry innovation lab. We call them innovation labs, and the industry kind of focus groups where you can just get together with people in your industry and talk all things, and co-create solutions together.
Love it. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed our time together. I know you have a long day ahead of you, so I won't keep you, but thank you so much for being here together
Thank you,
with
Courtney.
me and for all of the really valuable information that you share with so many of our listeners and viewers. So I wish you a great rest of the day, and I'll likely see you at the next Mills meeting.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the time and the opportunity.
You're welcome. Take care.
Bye.